All right, ready? In 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome in to another episode of the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network. Back from his paperwork abyss from between grad school and IEPs. It's my main man, Israel Troop. Don't worry, Israel. Matt Perkins pinch hit for you last week. Did a good job, but it's not quite the same. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm good. Life of a classroom teacher, man. Got all this paperwork to do and trying to finish up as specialist so I can make a little bit more change. So, you complain, but ain't nobody going to listen. Nobody cares.
Yeah, that's all good. You just keep plugging along, right? Well, we both got long road trips this week for our respective high school programs. You're going to Augusta. I'm going to Memphis.
Yep. This is the last road trip, Lord's willing. We were in the region so we can host a couple of playoff games at home. So last week was the first time we've played home in like 5 weeks. So, our last 2 games are at home with the big matchup against our crosstown rival, the Coffee County Trojans, hopefully for the region championship.
Yeah, we unfortunately squandered that unless Memphis University School decides they're going to drop a game or two. We will likely, if we went out, we'll finish second in the region, which means the way we're set up with only 11 teams in our region, in our entire classification, actually, we just reshuffle the deck and play it out. So we will get a first round bye and host our next playoff game, and then it'll be determined based on how things play out if we host the semifinals or not. And then the state championships are in Chattanooga, so that'll be fun.
Do y'all play at UTC for the championship?
Yep, we do.
Nice.
It used to be at Tennessee Tech, and then that ran out, and so UT Chat got the bid for the state championship games. Which why they don't do them at MTSU is like the most central location in Tennessee. I don't know why they don't do that. People can make a trip out of it, like come up to Nashville. Things like that. I mean, Vandy, we should really be playing at Vandy. They're getting all that construction done, but that's neither here nor there. I don't make those decisions.
Scoreboard so it doesn't fall on people, so that's kind of dangerous to go play over there.
And even that's not secure, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But I want to tell you that our show is brought to you by Betonline.ag, your number one source for all your sports wagering needs. If you name it, they got it. The NHL just got cranked up. The NBA's soon to follow. College football and NFL are in full swing. The MLB playoffs are in full swing as well. So you can bet on all of those things, live game props, live game odds, props. You can get some parlays. I had a list of parlays, and I did not pair them correctly. I thought about doing an early parlay with 2 overs and Michigan, but I decided to instead go with the over on the Syracuse-Florida State game, and that did me in because I took the over on our game, I took the over on the Alabama game, and I took the over on the Syracuse-FSU game, when in reality I was thinking about taking Michigan minus 33 against Indiana, and I would have won. $100.
Thank our home Georgia Bulldogs for letting me down. They were the only game I lost.
Those parlays are rough, man. Those parlays are rough, but what you need to do, yeah.
I thought it was going to be like 45-7, something like that, 33-0.
Yeah. Ended up being a very interesting contest. So in order to get in on this action like we are, you need to head to betonline.ag right now and enter the promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV to get 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline.ag, it's where the game starts. So speaking of that game, I guess the word to describe that game would be weird. And I say weird because you score 37 points. You put up well over 400 yards of total offense. It seemed like you just moved the ball at will. Defense played really well for most of the game. and you end up getting one score. The game ends up getting within one score in the fourth quarter, and you don't really know kind of how it happened.
Yeah.
It was just an odd game because, Brock Bowers goes down. The energy is shot. It's a construction zone with the crane and video boards swinging. And it was just odd, man. It was odd.
Let's just say I'm glad all our players had on their helmets because that did not look very stationary at all during that whole entire game.
It was windy up here, too. The wind was ripping there on Saturday.
That was not safe whatsoever. But like you said, it's one of those weird games to where, you're doing everything right, throughout the game, not a whole lot of penalties that I remember. You had the one turnover right before we go down and score, that Van Pran picks up, after the bobble snap there, which is like, all right, we got lucky there. We go down and score. We actually put together, I want to say it was a 10-play drive, to kind of bleed the clock out and things like that. So, you can do that once you need it when you get in those 4-minute situations as we get down the road here. But, it's one of those to where you put up a lot of yards offensively, but you're just not punching it in. Something happens, we get a bad pass here. I think Brock, one, he threw the pick, and two, he missed the wide open guy. It's just one of those, like you said, weird games to where you can't really explain what happened. The game was pretty much in hand regardless, but it's just one of those deals to where, what are we doing, guys? You look good. I mean, everything's kind of flowing, but it's just like, what's going on? But I will say this to anybody who has watched Georgia play Vandy, whether it's at home and especially when it's in Nashville, it's always a game like that. To where, all right, we're finna beat the hell out of these kids. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, this game is a lot closer than it should be. And it's always like a Vandy or Kentucky or things like that, which we took care of business against Kentucky. But teams like Vandy, they always seem to make it a lot closer than it should be. And you really just can't explain it.
And it was like that when you were playing, right? Like you had some of those games? Yes. Like what? Like, can you explain what happened then? Like, what is it kind of the same deal? Like what? Like what goes on?
It's we ran the ball really well. We threw the ball really well when we went over there and played them. It's just, I don't know. It's just like some bad juju. They put these guys in a tent. But back when I was playing, you had a locker room, smaller than that tent. It's just one of those deals to where it's like, all right, guys, we just got to get through this and go home. You know what I mean? I guess it'd be 11 o'clock game. What was it? Or 10 o'clock game over there because it was at 12.
It's 11. It's 11 local. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you got to play early. You got to get up. Everything's kind of moving a lot quicker than it should be. It's kind of cold. So it's just a weird situation that always seems to happen, especially against Vandy. And I think it was 2000. No, not 2000, probably 2006 when they beat us. I think it was. I know it was before I got there. I think they kind of caught us one time. They were really good.
Yeah.
So
I think it was Jay Cutler's last year there. I think maybe.
Yes, I think that's what it was. But you're able to come out of here. You got one significant injury. It's a high ankle sprain, which is by far the worst that you can get. At any point, it takes forever, even without surgery, to even come back from those. And to all the people talking about a knee pad does absolutely nothing for you. It was his ankle, not his knee anyway. So the knee pad's just there. I mean, and if you're watching college football today, having a knee pad is, most people don't even wear knee pads. Some people wear shorts,
I'm trying to find something to give you a point of reference of how big a knee pad is. It's like half the size of this.
Yeah, probably a third of that size.
It's probably the size of this inner circle right here.
That's exactly how big a knee pad is.
Like it barely covers your kneecap if it's down that far, and they don't make the pants to cover your knees anymore. And when I played, it didn't. The knee pads were huge, but They really didn't serve a purpose.
Like, I never got hit in the knee and was like, man, I wish I had my knee pad in that spot. You know, it just
that's going to hurt it regardless.
Yeah.
Plus, when you get hit in your knee's bending somewhere, some direction, whether it's the right way or the wrong way.
Knee pad, like if I'm missing a thigh pad and I got hit, you definitely feel that. You know, but a knee pad is just you just needed it to play.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why teams can go helmets, shoulder pads, and girdles with shorts over top and still go full speed practice because knee pads don't really matter. Yeah, knee pads don't really matter. Exactly what we do. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So that whole thing is tired. Like the refs up here, I don't know if they're like that in Georgia with high school, but like our guys, there's a new mandate that. Oh God, they're such on a crusade about that too, man.
And if you get caught, you know you got to come out the game. Like they'll stop the game to talk about a kid's knee pad, but you just completely missed the holding penalty, like right in front of your face. But you noticed this kid's knee pad. It's amazing.
Well, it's all about the knee pads. Yeah, it's all about the knee pads. All about the so. Oh God,
how do you notice that kid doesn't have a mouthpiece in?
Yeah. It's good eyes. Now, I wish you'd use those eyes on holding, but here's a rule that we have, Israel, and you can tell me how ridiculous this is. So if you have, if you get to 5 knee pad violations, it's like if the player has to be sent out 5 times, the coach gets ejected.
Like the same player 5 times, or just 5 players in general?
Just 5 players in general.
Oh, I
think like the first time is a warning. I think like once you get to 3, it's a personal foul. And then once you get to 5, it's like the second one that gets you tossed or whatever.
I don't know. They just send our kids off here. They're just like, hey, coach, fix the knee pad. Then you can go back in like the very next play.
That's the way it used to be. And now it's some crusade. I don't think it'll last, but.
That is very aggressive considering that in college, like it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, once the game starts, they don't even care about that. They're worried about other things. Yeah, that's on you. Yeah. So, yeah, I know. I had the same reaction. It's like, what are they like? We have these refs that can barely call offside. Like we've had refs that threw a flag and couldn't explain it. I got pass interference. How? So he hands and that's how the explanation would go. And you're like,
that's how I feel watching football on Saturdays now. And they have like the people explain it. And I'm like, that just doesn't make sense to me. As a receiver, I don't believe half these penalties are pass interference at all. I just think it's really good defense. But it's pass interference these days.
Yeah, I mean, pass interference should be, in my mind, it should be a blatant. What's what I'm trying to say? Blatantly impeding
you from catching the ball.
Yeah, and it's like if you wouldn't catch the ball, like and there's no more like uncatchable, like that's gone out the window. Like there's plays where a guy will impede, but like the ball, I don't think he could have caught it against air where the ball was. And they're like, whoop, flag.
This game's getting soft. Very, very soft.
I saw like targeting
in the fourth quarter for a second there. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
This game's a lot closer than you thought, especially when they scored to make it 20. I was like, shoot. It was
31-20. I'm like, oh boy. Because that was right after the Carson Beck interception where he just kept the guy from pick sixing it at least. I'll give him credit there.
To him in that tackle, man. He laid his body on the line for that one.
Mm-hmm. He was pissed too. You could tell. You could tell he was like, "You mother," and he ran over and just everything he had into him.
Every little piece of that body went into that guy.
I was like, oh, Carson, don't get hurt, man.
Right. I like it. I love it. Love the effort. Love the effort.
Love the effort.
But like I said earlier, once we get back on track here. But it's always weird playing bandy. I mean, and you've seen it. You've been there. It's just it's something about bandy that just creeps up on teams. And if you don't jump on them early, give them a chance. I mean, they can make some noise now. They are definitely a lot better than they have been in a very long time.
They're certainly an SEC team, and they have SEC. They have like better than average caliber players. They just don't have as many as their counterparts most of the time. But yeah, you can't. It's like I said, the atmosphere combined with a little bit of ray of hope, and that team suddenly becomes dangerous. Like they strung together some nice runs, and they put together and they had a nice explosive strike on that first touchdown on the first series. And I think coming out of the gates doing that, I think gave them confidence, and they just played really well after that for
Absolutely.
a lot of the game. And the fact that Georgia couldn't get any explosives on offense, like every touchdown seemed laborious, also gave Vanderbilt some hope. Their defense started playing a little harder because, hey, this team that's usually pretty explosive, and that was really explosive last week against Kentucky, has not hit an explosive play on us. And that also gave their defense a little bit of juice. And you can't do that to any team, let alone any team in the SEC, and expect you're going to be wildly successful. Now, we ended up winning based on talent. Like, we kind of settled down and got a sizable enough lead to where we were still in control. But had that been in the third quarter, not the fourth, I don't know. We might be having a different conversation here. I don't know.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, it was getting out of hand for a second there. But, it's one of those deals that, they kind of realized who they were. And they're like, all right, man, we're tired of playing with y'all. We're going to go ahead and win this game so we can get back home. Because I'm kind of screwing the scoreboard that's been swinging this whole entire game.
They probably couldn't see it because they're like watching a moving target, and the black line of pixels that are out on the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't help.
That's very true. That is very true.
Probably very distracting.
But at the same time, everybody wants to talk about the SEC's down. You want to talk about, you see all these things about, well, Georgia only beat Vandy by, such and such score and this, that, and the third. I'm like, guys, you do understand that anybody can get beat on a Saturday. South Carolina, Florida, man, coach broke his whole entire foot because he was upset. So, you just never know what will happen. Missouri and LSU. I mean, Missouri is pretty much in control of that game. LSU comes back and beat them. Arkansas and Alabama get into a shootout. You know what I mean?
Arkansas has been doing that to a lot of teams.
Yes, this 2-5. I saw a thing today saying that Arkansas was the bottom of the barrel team. I mean, you can say that, but they just hadn't won. I don't think they're bottom of the barrel by any means. But it's just one of those years, that catches this year. I say us because we're all SEC here, and just watch how the tables are turned. You see what happens, when you play really good defense. And USC kind of ran into that with Notre Dame. Yeah. So every Saturday this year is pretty much up for grabs. I mean, Colorado's up 28-29-0 at halftime or something like that, and then they end up getting beaten overtime. You know what I mean? To Stanford, who was 1-3 at the time. So
now Stanford is bottom tier right now of the Pac-12, which, I mean, there's not a whole lot of strong teams out there.
Yeah. So, there's no clear dominant team in football this year. Except for, I think Michigan is the most dominant team so far, just from their performance. But they still got to play Ohio State. I mean, they still got to play Penn State, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that's two really, really good teams they got to play. And Penn State and Ohio State play this weekend. So just one of those deals to where, guys, pump your brakes. I know you guys get paid to say all this stuff on social media. I understand the SEC is still the SEC at the end of the day.
And understand this as well. Like, the reason why Georgia's still number one is not because we're lighting the world on fire by any stretch of the imagination at this moment, but we are currently the holders of the longest win streak in SEC history. We're back-to-back reigning. We have not lost since December of 2021. And until we do, we're going to be number one. And if that upsets you, you don't understand the longevity of a program such, winning such in this manner. Sure, Michigan may be better. They have a veteran quarterback. They have a lot of veteran pieces, and they've been a good program for the last 4-something years since Harbaugh kind of really turned it around. And they're really good. Washington showed me a lot, but Oregon had control of that game most of the way, and Washington kind of took it there at the end. I mean, they went back and forth for a bit, but Oregon just kind of kept pushing it along a little bit, and then of course Washington went there, got it in the end. Two really good teams out on the West Coast getting ready to head to the Big Ten. FSU, they didn't cover the 54.5 over, but they beat the hell out of Syracuse, which the previous 3 years Florida State teams would have struggled in that game. That game would have been 42-40 Syracuse. In the recent years past with Florida State, like, they've come a long way. They're pretty dominant right now. In the Big 12, you've got Oklahoma, who's dominant, and Texas is right there with them. Like, that game was everything we thought it should be, and is probably going to be rematched in the Big 12 title game. So, like, you look at dominant teams, there's not one team you're like, okay, that's the team, and Georgia included.
Yes.
But you're looking at a handful of teams like, God, I wish this 12-team playoff was a year earlier because we would get some really good matchups here. But
absolutely,
you're not. But this year's playoff picture is going to be very, very interesting, I think.
It is, because you're going to get at least a one-loss West team in the SEC championship game. And you're probably going to get a one-loss Big 12 team, a one-loss Big 10 team outside of Michigan. So it's going to be really, really interesting.
So it's going to come down to the fact that if Washington can keep running the table, Florida State can run the table, if Georgia can run the table, and Michigan can run the table, there's your 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And unfortunately, probably Oklahoma gets left out. So it's going to come down to, is there a scenario where the SEC finally gets left out if there's a one-loss team and the others run the table?
It's a possibility. Let's see, it'll be Michigan will be undefeated, Florida State will be undefeated, Washington will be undefeated.
Mm-hmm. Then you have Oklahoma undefeated.
Yeah, so then it'd be Oklahoma, or an SEC team would be out.
That'd be kind of crazy. I know the rest of the world would like that, but as of right now, I don't know. I don't see those teams getting by unscathed. Like maybe Florida State would go undefeated.
No, they got it this week. That's what they do.
That's not a given. Not a given.
It's the Blue Devils. I'm telling you right now.
Oregon still has to play Oregon State and Washington State and Utah, and I think they play USC, and I think they still have some very losable games. I think Washington still has to play all those teams, most of those teams. Those aren't easy games. Now, all of a sudden, the Pac-12 has gotten a lot stronger this year. I think if Georgia runs it, I think Oklahoma has probably the best chance of getting left out.
Yeah,
in this scenario.
Just from a sense of schedule of who they've played, since the Pac-12 for the first time is really, really strong this year. You can even throw Colorado in there too. It's one of those deals to where it's not the old Colorado. This was a really good Colorado team that you beat. You know what I mean?
Very immature Colorado team, unfortunately. But
dude, when Deion said that, and we're practicing tomorrow, I could only imagine if Coach Rick said that, after a game, and we were practicing tomorrow. Oh man, that hurt me down in my soul to hear him say that.
Yeah,
but they deserve it.
Yeah, they can't. They've got to grow up a little bit. Honestly, I think when they were smelling themselves a little bit. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It is what it is.
It happens. Speaking of ourselves, Drake, Aubrey, whatever you want us to call you, we really don't appreciate you wearing anything Georgia because we saw what happened. Our number one weapon's down, and now everybody's on the internet's freaking out because our number one weapon is down. But to all you guys freaking out, there's a reason why we recruit. Although he is a very, very good weapon that we lost, we recruit for a reason. And it's just one of those deals where it's time to step up. And it's also a reason why we do what we do and you do what you do. Because understand, as a coach, injuries happen, sickness happens. We can't sit here and be mad, happy, sad, glad, whatever that has happened. We got to go ahead and do a job. We got to figure out who can we replace, who can we put in his place. We still got to go ahead and play football games. We're about to hit a stretch here. We got Florida, and we got Missouri. We got Ole Miss. We got Georgia Tech. Tennessee. We're about to hit a stretch here to where we can't really sit in our feelings and be sad because we're losing one player.
Right. We're going to have to adjust and move on. Oscar Delp is going to have to grow up fast. I know he's kind of had his struggles a little bit. We're going to have to rely on our 10 personnel packages more. Maybe our 11 personnel packages where Oscar Delp is not the number one option in a route combo. The run game is going to have to get going. I think Kendall Milton's going to have an appointment with Mr. Miyagi's and get his whatever's going on with him healed. I know, man. That guy just can't catch a break. Man, he was having a day too, man. Like, I think he runs for 500 yards if he doesn't get hurt, man. That guy was running, man.
I got to figure out what we're doing at practice, man, because, our running backs are just getting destroyed. That between Monday to Thursday, I feel like our running backs are just going through hell every day because it's like, well, he did something today at practice.
Are they having practice on Lumpkin Street?
I don't know.
Are they practicing jump cutting around traffic?
Man, they are getting it right now. So our running back room is looking a little thin at the moment.
Yeah, it got thin quickly too.
Yes.
Very quickly. Well, Dejan was a perfect 1B compliment to Kendall Milton. Like the way they split their carries was amazing. But if one of them has to carry the load, it gets a little tricky.
Yeah, it's one of those deals to where, hey, running backs just look, y'all just come through, walk through. We're going to put y'all in the yellow jersey. You can't take any contact whatsoever until the weekend.
Yeah. Your only contact is maybe Tuesday a little bit, just so you're not completely thrown off on Saturday.
Got 2 periods of contact, big dog. 2 periods, and that's it.
Yeah. Get him on the Steve McNair practice plan. Mm-hmm. He didn't practice the entire month he would never practice from Thanksgiving on. Because he was always that beat up, and he'd go out there and play and just destroy people.
Slice and dice, man. Slice and dice.
That guy was unreal, man. But yeah, so I think the plan is, and this is where Coach Bobo's gonna have to get a little creative. Which, I mean, I've sent you stuff. I've sent you texts and things like that, the new it motion that Mike McDaniel's using down in Miami, the exit motion, I think is what they call it, where you motion out instead of in. Receiver motions out instead of in, and it's a lot of times it's that short motion. Mm-hmm. It's not all the way across. It's the short motion out instead of where you zip motion, and the guy he comes in and creates a new number one. By coming in and becoming the number 2 or 3. Well, instead they start as the number 3 and they become the new number 1 and they do it fast. Bobo was doing a lot of that against Kentucky. He started implementing some of that and the scheme. You watch this offense and you would think by listening to if I just listen to what people said, I would think that we're lining up in the the straight T formation and wishbone and running power.
You think we're running the league team in college football if you listen to people talk. So here's a lesson for one-on-one guys. The SEC is not like the Pac-10, okay? And I think I said this, and I know me and you were texting, I was like, we actually play defense over here. So this whole, all right, we're going to go out here and, these games are 42, 45, 56 to 50. You're not going to get those in the SEC unless somebody's having a really, really bad day defensively, So those games are far and few between that you're going to have them. So we play defense over here. So y'all just relax and just understand that there's going to be games you're going to have to just win the 20, the 17s and things like that in this league because our league is hard. Even when Alabama was beating people to sleep, those games were still like 34-17, something like that, 17-point ball games. So, everybody relax. We're still winning. It's amazing when you're winning and people are still upset. Like, I don't know what you want. Like, you want to score 60 points? Well, that's not going to happen because we're going to get young guys in and those guys are going to play. So, you're developing talent. If you want to know why Georgia's so good, because we're developing talent because those guys get into the game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the mark. So how would you judge a good offense? Like, to me, it's not that you score 60 points because, like, you can luck your way into 60 points a lot of times, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like a couple big plays here, return something in the return game there, and you get the mark of a good offense is something that runs smoothly. You have an offense that doesn't look like every play is laborious, like every play is difficult to execute. Yes. Like, it's smooth. It's getting first downs, it's staying ahead of schedule, it's winning first down, getting to 2nd and 5, and then getting from 2nd and 5 to worst case scenario 3rd and 2. If not, go ahead and move the chains. Like, staying ahead of the down and distance situations, completing easy passes, and scoring and getting points in 8 to 10 plays or less.
Yes.
And being able to do that on a fairly consistent basis and understanding that punting is not always a bad thing.
Yes. That's a good offense.
And I once heard a coach, at a clinic, I can't remember his name, but I remember the quote. He said, the goal is to end every drive with a kick. Mm-hmm. Didn't say what kind of kick. So you end a drive with a field goal, a PAT, or a punt, and you're usually in good shape.
Yes.
Meaning you take care of the ball and let your defense actually do what they're recruited to do. It's good team complementary football. You play field position in this league. That's okay. I don't think people understand that. Like, every play doesn't have to be the greatest play in the history of football. A good play in the SEC is gaining 4 yards.
Yes. And let's think about this, shall we? Let's go back to Texas versus Oklahoma, okay, which is a really, really good game, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Oklahoma scores. What does Texas do? They go right back down and score. So what happens then? You give the ball right back to the other team that your defense just got off the field with. Come on, guys. It's not rocket science. If you take care of the football, you control the clock. Give your defense some rest. It's a pretty good chance those guys are feeling really sporty. They're going to go out there and play really good defense. Well, if they score 7, you score 7 within 3 plays, gets Tennessee in trouble all the time, especially this past week. And if you watch them play, give the ball right back to those guys. What are they going to do? Your defense, a retired defense, is going to have to go right back out there. And what tends to happen, they score a lot of points.
Mm-hmm. Because your defense is tired, they blow assignments, they get beat physically, whatever the case may be, and it's over. So,
yeah, you get coached dirty, so then that happens.
Oh, you don't want to get coached dirty. That's bad. Yeah. It's bad. It's real bad. So, but well, all right, man. Well, this is it. Yeah,
out there. Well, that's football 101 for you offensive geniuses that sit and just watch on Saturdays.
There you go.
A lot of work goes into this stuff, guys. A lot of work that goes into it that you just see on Saturday, and I will continue to say that. that our job is not easy, especially when you're listening to people who can't do what we do. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And to try to be professional.
Yeah. God, I hate this. That's like, come on, man. Like, come on, dude. Like, okay. Like, anytime somebody's like, yeah, this guy sucks, or that coach is terrible, or, Coach Troop doesn't know what a good play is if it hit him in the face. I'd be like, look, come on, like, join my staff. Like, let's see what you got. I got an opening.
Like, don't you lay concrete for your career? Which is it's a very, very good career. Y'all make more than we do. So, I mean, I don't tell you how to come out there and lay concrete. I don't know how to do that. I don't. I'm not going to come and tell you how to lay concrete.
I'm going to say, hey, I trust that you know what the hell you're doing, and you're doing a damn good job. As long as that concrete doesn't buckle underneath my feet, we're good.
Absolutely. So,
we're good. I'm going to let you do your thing.
When I retire, I'm going to remember all these people that have, tried to say things about me, and I'm going to go into their place of business, and I'm going to tell them everything that they did wrong. Got a couple of dentists that I need to talk to. I got a list of people that when I retire, because I ain't got nothing to lose at that point. I'm retired now. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And we're going to have a conversation. We're going to sit in your waiting room and be like, hey, you're doing that wrong. Although I have no clue what you're doing. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I could do better. Here, give me that little pick of death thing, that the devil's tool. That thing was crafted by Satan himself. The little pick thing, that you scrape. I hate that thing. Oh, God.
Hey, I saw this guy on YouTube do it a lot better than you.
Yeah.
Or TikTok.
I drafted this other dentist in my fantasy dentist draft.
Yep. The other dentist office got this guy from like Switzerland. He's supposed to be the man. And you clearly don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just little things like that to where you guys understand, like, it's hard out here. We were just talking about this off stage. It's really hard to be a coach. So you got to really love what you do, because these people be trying you sometimes.
Yeah, everyone's a better coach than you. Every person outside those doors is a better coach than you.
Yes, and we're undefeated. We're undefeated, man. That's all that matters. And Bobo, I trust.
You're always an idiot. You're always the idiot. That Coach Troop, man, he's just such an idiot. Throw it deep. Then you throw it deep. Run the ball. Why are you throwing it to him? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Well, we ask ourselves that question all the time. What are we doing?
Yeah. There's been plenty of times where I've called a play and I'm like, God bless Corey, you're a dumbass. I'll call a play and I'm like, God, that was stupid. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
I'm sorry. Strike that one out. First play of offensive football in our season last year. I call a bubble screen. We go trips bunch, wide bunch. Call bubble screen. Well, my point guy missed it. Like, we had just acres of space. And we get one guy blocked. We're probably, worst case scenario, gain of 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, dude misses the block, and instead of, like, absolute worst thing what's the absolute worst thing that could happen on a bubble screen?
It's a lateral.
At a bunch.
It's a lateral.
No, worse than that.
He picked it. He didn't even get touched.
Picked it and sixed it.
Oh, it's a bad day.
Yeah, but luckily it wasn't too long of the sixth part wasn't too long, because it was like we were pinned down deep.
Yeah.
We were like on the -10. He pick sixed it.
It's
Dude,
bad
just
feeling
wet.
running down your side, and it's not on your team. It's a bad feeling.
Dude just pick six, and I'm like, oh. Our quarterback got it out a touch slow. We missed the block. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah. I guess your quarterback didn't go make tackle like Carson Beck did that.
He didn't have time to. I was in the end zone before he even realized he threw a pick.
God dang it.
That's how quick it happened.
Well, KOR, here we go.
Yeah. All right, kick off for two.
Hey, we got an off week this week. Get a couple guys healthy, get Brock another week because I think he had surgery, yesterday or today, something like that.
I think he had it today. I think he was choosing what he was going to do, and I think he had it today.
Him and Mims are having the same exact surgery, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Mims should have about 3 weeks left before he comes.
If we could just survive and get to, if we can survive the next 4 games, I'll say 4 games. Just win. I don't care what it looks like. Just win. Get yourself into the SEC championship where Brock and Amarius, Milton, all those guys are back. And then let's go.
It's going to be a great day. Let's make this run.
It's a great day to have a great day. You already know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the only offensive coordinator, the only people I'm listening to criticism from is Pierce. Like if you watch one of my games and you were like, Corey, what'd you call that? Or what are you doing here? What were you thinking there? And then I could tell you, and then you'd be like, oh, well, here's how I approach it. That's the only people I would listen to. Everyone else is just wah 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 wah.
Yep, that's what they sound like too.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what they sound like.
Sometimes it's funny. Like sometimes I laugh. I call it my fan club.
You're a fan.
Yeah, we had this manager. It's this kid's dad. Like he was probably the greatest parent. He was probably the greatest football parent I think I've ever encountered. He was the manager for 2. He was our equipment guy, like our game day manager for 2 years after his son graduated.
No, that's a good dude right there. They don't make him like that.
I mean, he had no agenda. He just wanted to help. He would carry all our stuff. He would set up and break down sideline stuff. He would fix things. He would he did everything.
Shout out to that guy. Wish there were more like you.
I almost shout out his name, Scott Garland. Scott Garland. I don't know if you'll ever hear this, Scott. Sometimes he's listened to our podcast because I've talked about it. But if you're listening to this one, you're probably the greatest you are the greatest football parent I've ever encountered. I consider him a friend now. Like he's a friend of mine. I would call him and say, hey, let's I don't really call anybody these days to say, hey, let's go grab something for lunch. But if I did, he would be somebody that I could call and hang out with for a minute. Mm-hmm. He's hilarious too. He's funny.
Need more like him.
Mm-hmm. He does car painting. He body shop, deep car painting stuff. He paints cars.
That's pretty sweet.
Mostly a paint and body shop. Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, we went a little extra long because it's the bye week, and this might be the only episode we get to this week. But we're gonna stop it right there, though. I think we've pretty much beat everything into the ground at this point. So we hope that Georgia has a great week of healing, get everybody healthy. We hope you guys have a great week off from Georgia football. I know there's a lot of people out there whose well-being depends on getting away from college football for a weekend. And it could serve a lot of people in Dog Nation very well to take this week off and think about the next 3 to 4 without some of our biggest weapons and just trying to get through.
Absolutely. Everybody just relax. It's going to be fine.
It's going to be okay. I've taken that motto. It's going to be okay. We at this point, if you don't trust it at this point, you're probably never going to trust it. Let's just be honest about that.
Nah, we don't need you.
Yeah, we don't need you. Go root for whoever. I don't care who. Go root for Florida. That's a good idea. Go root for Tech. Go root for Miami. Go root for MTSU. I don't care who you root for. Just don't root for Georgia if you're going to be like that.
There you go.
There you go. So, for Israel Troop, I'm Corey Burton. We are the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network, presented by Betonline.ag. We hope you have a great rest of your week. If we don't see you back here, enjoy your bye week. And if you play on Betonline.ag, we hope you hit your parlays. But until then, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Do you believe?